Clara cried, I hope you'll like them. Look, these frocks and aprons and hankies and some seeming things. Oh, and this Clara held up a basket. Heidi peed and jumped for joy, and for inside were 12 beautiful rolls of for Granny. In her delight, the children quite forgot that they were so soon to part, and when they heard someone call, the carriage is here, and there was no time to be sad. Heidi ran to the room which had been hers to fetch the book which Grandma had given her. She always kept it under her pillow, for she could never bear to be parted from it. So she felt sure no one would have packed it. She put it in the basket, then she looked in the cupboard, fetched out her precious old hat. Her red scarf was there too, for Miss Rottenmill had not thought it worth putting in the trunk. Heidi wrapped it round her other treasure and put it on the top of the basket, where it was very conspicuous. Then she put on a pretty little hat which she had been given and left the room. She and Clara had to say goodbye for quickly, for Mr. Sesseman was waiting to put Heidi in the carriage, and Miss Ratame was standing at the top of the stairs to say goodbye to. She was the funny looking red bundle at once and snatched it out of the basket and threw it on the floor. Really, Adelaide, she scolded, and you can't leave this house carrying a little thing like that. You won't need it anymore. Goodbye. After that, Heidi did not dare to pick it up again, but she gave Mr. Sarchman an imploring look. Let the child take what she likes with her, he said sharply. If she wanted kittens and tortoises too, there would be no reason to get so excited. Miss Rattenmere, Heidi took up her precious bundle. Her eyes shining with gratitude and happiness. Goodbye, said Mr. Seaman, shaking hands before she got into the carriage. Clara and I will often think of you. I hope you'll have a good journey. Thank you for your everything, said Harry, and please thank for the doctor too, and give him my love. She remembered that the doctor had said that everything would be all right the next day, so she was sure he must have helped to make him this come true. She was lifted into the carriage, and basket and a bag of provisions were handed up. Then Sebastian got in. Goodbye and a pleasant journey, Mr. Sesseman called after them as the carriage drove. Soon Hetty was sitting in the train with the basket on her lap. She would not let go of it for an instant because of the precious rolls inside. Every now and then she peeped at them and sighed with satisfaction. For a long time she spoke never a word, for she was only beginning to realize that she was really on her way to home to grandfather, and would see the mountains of Peter and Granny. As she thought about them all, she suddenly grew anxious and asked Sebastian Peter, Granny won't be dead, will she? Let's hope not, she replied. She'll be alive all right, I expect. Hetty fell silent again and looked forward at the moment when she would actually give the rose to her kind old friend. Presently she said again, I wish I knew for certain that Granny's still alive. Oh, she'll be alive all right, why shouldn't she be? Said Sebastian, who was nearly asleep. Soon Harry's eyes closed too. She was so tired after her disturbed night and early rising that she dozed off. She slept soundly till Sebastian shook her by the arm, crying, Wake up, we have to get out here. We are at Basel. For several hours more next day they continued their journey by train, and Harry still sat the basket on her lap. She would not let Baskin take it even for a moment. She was very silent, but inside she grew more. Of the cart, Sebastian felt rather guilty, as he knew he was meant to take her all the way home. He shook hands with her and reminded her with the warning signs to remember what he had just given her. He was careful not to mention it out loud in hearing of the driver. Then the man swung himself up beside Heidi. The cart rolled off towards the mountain, while Sebastian returned to the little station to wait for a train to take his home. him home. The man on the car was the baker from Darkly, who had been to collect some flour. He had never seen Heidi, but like everyone else in the village, he had heard of her. He had known her parents and realized at once who she was. He was surprised to see her back again and was naturally curious to find out what had happened. So he began to talk to her. You must be little girl who used to live with Uncle Alfie, your grandfather, aren't you? He inquired. Yes, said Harry. Did they treat you badly down there that you are coming so soon? Oh no, Harry cried. Everyone was very kind to me in Frankfurt. Then why are you coming back? Mr. Sanders said I could come. I'd have thought you would rather have stayed if you were so well off there. I'd do a million times rather be with grandfather on the mountain than anywhere else in the world. She told him, perhaps you'll change your mind when you get there, muttered the baker, thinking of to himself, it's a rum business. But she must know what it's like. She began to whistle then and said no more. Had he looked around with the growing delight the mountain peaks she knew so well and which seemed to greet her like old friends. She wanted to jump down from the cart and run. And more excited than just she was last expecting it, he heard a voice calling, man fell, man fell. She and Sebastian jumped up in surprise and scrambled out on the platform with the trunk. Then the train went puffing on down the valley, and Sebastian looked after it with regret. He preferred traveling comfortably and without effort, and did not look forward to climbing the mountain. He felt sure it would be very dangerous, and the country seemed to him only half civilized. He looked about for someone to tell them the safest way to Dartmouth. Near the station entrance, he noticed a small cart to which a skinny pony was harnessed. A big man was carrying out to it some heavy sacks which had come off the train, and to him Sebastian put his question. All the paths here are safe was the answer that did not satisfy Sebastian, who went on to ask how they could best avoiding falling down a precipice and how to get a trunk up to Dorothy. The man glanced at it, then said,